Life threats, first-degree bans, fake passports, court cases, prison sentences. Dida's journey to greatness is one of the craziest I've ever come across. Nelson de Jesus Silva, better known as Dida, was born in Bahia, Brazil. Now, football wasn't the first sport he fell in love with, it was actually volleyball. He was very good at it, and with his height, he was perfect for that sport. Until he discovered football. During those years, his father worked as the caretaker of a coffee company and would sometimes take Dida with him. He hated his father's job. Instead of staying around with him, he would go to the streets and kick anything he could find. Small rocks, papers, any and every object he could find. Back home, he would see other kids playing and his interest in the sport grew. He began playing futsal with other kids around his area, and with his volleyball background, he was more comfortable using his hands, so he chose the goalkeeper position. This decision scared everyone: his father, his close friends, and his teammates. You could be wondering why. It's just a position, not a big deal surely. Well, in this day and age, sure, no big deal. Go onto the pitch and whatever you're good at, absolutely great. But back then, in Brazil, being a black goalkeeper was forbidden. It was almost like a crime, a decision that would get you in big trouble. But why? Hear me out. Back in 1950, Brazil hosted the World Cup. The entire nation expected them to win it all, and by the final game, it was looking very likely. There wasn't any knockout stage at that tournament. Brazil only needed a draw against Uruguay to win their first ever World Cup in front of a record crowd at the Maracanã, 173,850 people. Well, they lost 2-1. That defeat put the whole country in mourning. The stadium went into silence. Fans took their own lives in the stadium immediately after the match ended. Famous journalists quit. Players retired and never ever came close to the national team again. It was a tragic event. The scapegoat for the defeat? Barbosa. He was expecting a cross, and in anticipation he ended up being out of position for the second goal. That error changed his life forever and football forever. He was threatened for the rest of his life, ridiculed, his family mocked. It was bad. In his own words, the maximum punishment in Brazil is 30 years imprisonment, but I have been paying for something I am not even responsible for 50 years. After the 1950 World Cup, black goalkeepers were pretty much non-existent. The mere thought of becoming one could get you locked up or worse, assassinated. Many had to give up on their dreams of being shot stoppers. They had to find a different position or leave the sport. That brings us back to Dida. Despite all this, Dida was determined to make it as a goalkeeper in the Brazilian league and for the Brazilian national team. He ignored all the warnings and joined the Cruzeiro youth team. He continued on as a goalkeeper. The coaches were worried about his well-being and the backlash that this would cause if they were found training a black kid in the goalkeeper position. They didn't stop him though. He was very driven, and that's all he wanted. 2 years later, he returned to his hometown Bahia and joined the Vitória Youth Academy. He quickly proved himself, and in 1993, he was handed his first team debut and featured 24 times that year. He led his team to a second-place finish and was named the league's best goalkeeper, becoming the youngest recipient of that award at only 20. His large frame and imposing figure enabled him to command his area. He joined Cruzeiro in 1994 and in 1995 won the Copa de Ouro, South America's version of the Cup Winners' Cup. The same year, a significant moment took place. He was selected in the Brazil squad for the 1995 Copa America. Tafarel was suspended for 2 matches, meaning Dida earned his first cap, becoming the first notable Afro-Brazilian goalkeeper to play for club and country since Barbosa in the 1950s, and in the process overcame a barrier that was holding back Brazilian football. He was also selected in the Gold Cup and World Cup squads in 1996 and 1998 respectively. Although he was only a backup at these tournaments, it was a huge step. Questions turned from why is a black goalkeeper in the squad to why is he not starting. This was not the only hurdle he would have to get over in his career. There was a lot more drama coming his way. Back at his club, he made 188 appearances across 5 years, winning 4 state titles, the Copa do Brasil in 1996 and the Copa Libertadores in 1997. He also won the Best Goalkeeper award twice more. His lack of regular starts for the national team prompted him to seek a move to Europe to gain more recognition and have an advantage over the other goalkeepers. AC Milan offered him a move, but Cruzeiro were not keen on letting him go yet. Dida took matters into his own hands, taking the club to court to try and cancel his contract. Of course, Cruzeiro are not willing to do that. They had one of the best goalkeepers and would obviously want to keep his talents. The case lasted for 5 months, and during this period, he missed a lot of game time. He was allowed to move to Swiss club Lugano to keep his fitness up, but never really made any appearance for them. In May of 1999, the legal battle between Dida and Cruzeiro finally came to a close, and he was sold to AC Milan. The move didn't quite work out like he had hoped it would. He arrived at San Siro as a third-choice goalkeeper behind Abbiati and Rossi. To receive more game time, he was loaned back to Brazil, this time with Corinthians. This turned out to be a very productive loan move. During this spell, he built a reputation for being one of the best keepers at saving penalties. The Corinthians fans nicknamed him King of Penalties. Corinthians midfielder Ricardinho once revealed that they would actively try to take cup games to a penalty shootout, knowing Dida would definitely save a couple. His big frame and quick reflexes made him a scary figure. His penalty-saving expertise led Corinthians to lift in the inaugural Club World Cup in 2000. They also won the Brazil Serie A, not the worst loan stint. He was recalled by AC Milan for the 2000-2001 season, but only made a handful of appearances, 7 in total and only 1 in the league. An error against Leeds in the Champions League group stage didn't help his case. Dida was now preparing for the 2001-2002 season, confident he would secure the #1 jersey in time to impress the Brazil coach ahead of the 2002 FIFA World Cup. That plan came to a crushing halt as he found himself in court once again, this time for a more serious offense. He and a few other players, including Cafu and Veron, were involved in a fake passport scandal. With Milan having already reached their limit for non-EU players, they couldn't register Dida in their squad. Dida used a fake Portuguese passport to gain EU status. After this was discovered, AC Milan were fined £314,000, Dida was banned from the league for 1 year, banned from international football for the same period, and handed a 7-month suspended prison sentence. Having already missed a lot of game time during his previous case with Cruzeiro a few years before, he couldn't afford to do the same. Otherwise, he would kiss his World Cup spot goodbye. He decided to move back to Corinthians on loan and actually won 2 more trophies. Dida was recalled by AC Milan ahead of the 2002-2003 campaign. This time, Carlo Ancelotti was manager, and after an impressive display in a UCL qualifier, Carlo promoted him to first choice goalkeeper. He started 30 league matches. Milan conceded only 30 goals, the second best defensive record in the league. Carlo's side won the Coppa Italia and the Champions League. Dida helped in carrying them over the line. The final against Juventus went all the way to penalties. He saved 3 of the 5 that he faced in the shootout. After the match, Juve coach Marcelo Lippi and defender Lilian Thuram admitted that 4 to 5 players refused to take the spot kicks because of Dida's reputation as a penalty kick expert. Dida now had a mental edge on his opponents. Milan could basically win a game before it even kicked off. The extra second in which a forward player would panic trying to decide how to beat Dida was enough to prevent the goal. That year, he became the first Brazilian goalkeeper to be nominated for the Ballon d'Or. AC Milan clinched the Serie A title the following season, once again finishing with the second best defensive record, this time only conceding 24 goals in the 34 matches. By the 2004-2005 season, he had fully adapted to the league and the country and was now comfortably amongst the top 3 goalkeepers in the world. With players like Maldini and Nesta in front of him, the Milan defense was a brick wall. 16 clean sheets in the 36 appearances, conceding only 25 goals. World-class save after world-class save. In the Champions League, he conceded just 3 goals in AC Milan's first 10 matches. That run included 5 clean sheets in a row. More impressive when you consider they faced teams like Man United and Inter Milan in that run. In total, there were 7 clean sheets in a row from match day 5 all the way to the semi-finals, setting a competition record for the most games without conceding. In the quarterfinal second leg match against rivals Inter, the ultras behind Dida's goal threw flares onto the pitch. One hit Dida on the shoulder, missing his head by inches. He was subbed off and treated for first-degree burns. That match was eventually abandoned for safety reasons, and AC Milan handed a 3-0 win. The ordeal is believed to have been the main catalyst of his decline in form and ability. AC Milan were close to securing a second Champions League in 3 seasons, but ultimately lost in the final against Liverpool. The Brazilian did manage to save a couple of penalties in that match. First against Xabi Alonso in regular time, although he scored from the rebound, and the second from Risa in the shootout. He was once again nominated for the Ballon d'Or and included in the 5th Pro World 11. The 05-06 season was a forgettable year from an individual and team standpoint, as AC Milan ended the year trophyless, and for Dida, mistakes began creeping into his game. In February of that year, Brazil coach Carlos Alberto publicly stated that if he didn't improve his club form, he would not be selected for the 2006 World Cup. He ended up making it and debuting at a World Cup for Brazil after being a reserve in the 1998 and 2002 editions. He formed a superb backline with Lucio, Juan, Roberto Carlos and Cafu, a backline that recorded 3 clean sheets in the 5 matches before their 1-0 loss to France in the quarterfinals. Injuries began limiting his game time the next year. Recurring shoulder and knee injuries meant he missed 13 Serie A games after missing only 10 in the previous 3 seasons combined. In the Champions League, his performances were up and down. He was criticized for 3 goals in particular in the last 8 and last 4. After a 3-2 loss in the semis in which he was blamed for the Rooney and Ronaldo goals, a fan put him for sale on the auction site eBay. It was only a joke, but this showed the fans had begun losing confidence in the Brazilian. He did silence the critics by keeping a clean sheet in the second leg and becoming the first goalkeeper to assist in a Champions League match. Milan eventually lifted the trophy, with Dida making crucial saves from the likes of Gerrard and Crouch. The following season was another mixed bag. He won the Super Cup and the Club World Cup, but more injuries and poor form saw him losing the number 1 spot. He only featured in 23 league matches between 2007 and 2009, and in most of those games, he was under a lot of pressure after a few more errors. In his last season in Italy, he was rotated with Abbiati, making 28 appearances that season. Dida continued to work with AC Milan in other team-related events after his contract expired. 2 years later, he returned to Brazil and decided to resume his playing career. 1 season with Portuguesa, 1 with Grêmio and 2 with Internacional before hanging up his boots. Dida finished his career on 814 appearances for club and country, achieving many successes along the way. The most memorable was winning the Champions League twice with AC Milan, the Copa America, the Confederations Cup and the Holy Grail, the FIFA World Cup in 2002. He is one of a handful of players to have won the Copa Libertadores, the Champions League and the World Cup, one of the best goalkeepers of his generation.